Yeah, I just like the idea of fat green stools for some reason. I think it's funny. So.
Kids prefer cheese over fat green stools. There you go.
Or that. Hi, I'm Ryan. I'm a science teacher.
I'm Cheryl, and I slept through science.
Each episode will tackle a science question you may have learned in school, but can't quite remember or fully explain.
And I'll take the risk of asking the dumb questions so that we can all understand the science we slept through.
The bell has rung. Let's get started. Welcome to Lesson 88. We are in our What is Science unit. And this week, Cheryl, I think we're going to dive into a particular science discipline, correct?
Yes, Ryan, this week we're going to talk about what is biology.
What is biology? It's a great question. What is biology? Let's go straight into the pre-assessment, shall we?
That sounds great.
All righty. What do you think biology is all about, Cheryl?
Well, I'm trying to remember because early on in this podcast, we did a unit on biology.
We did. Yes, we did.
And now I'm trying to remember. I mean, I think it's the study of living things.
Okay.
But I feel like there's more nuance than that, or like variables, or you know what I mean? I feel like there's more to it than that. But I think that's what the basics of it is the study of life or the study of living things.
Okay.
And so that can be all sorts of things. It's a very broad one. It's a big one.
It is. What would be some examples of things that you think would fall under the realm of biology, that if I were a biologist, what would be some of the things I might study?
Well, you could be every third grade girl's dream job and be a marine biologist.
Okay.
And swim with orcas or whatever the heck they thought that marine biologists do. And that would be, I think, the study of underwater life or marine. There is
all underwater life?
Oh gosh. Maybe ocean. Maybe. That's gonna be my guess without actually knowing. That's based on when people picture themselves being marine biologists. I'm gonna guess ocean, but I'm not totally sure.
Okay.
I would say you could be like a plant biologist and study all sorts of different plants. I'm assuming there's a more specific term. I mean, there's botany, but I feel like there's probably another. No, it was botany. Botany, biology.
Or botanist.
Yes. Yeah. But then does that replace the word biology? Anyway, we'll find out. We don't know. This is the pre-assessment.
Oh, okay.
We don't get answers here.
No answers. Never mind. They definitely didn't just answer that.
I mean, you could study people, and that would like people's bodies. Not like you could study medicine. And I think if you studied medicine, you would have to study biology on your way to studying medicine and probably pass in biology and things like that. If you want to do that. But then you could also study like cells.
Okay.
Like I feel like that's something I learned in biology is like the plant cell and the round cells. It's the animal one. And then the squared off one is the plant one.
Oh, I see. So the animal cells are round and plant cells are square. Got it. Okay.
Yep. That's what biologists know. I mean, a ton of things, I think, is what it is.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of kinds of life.
There is a lot of kinds of life. Yeah. What sorts of tools do you think biologists use to study living things? Okay. Microscopes.
I'm guessing there's a lot of looking at cells is my guess.
Okay.
Everybody's cells. And maybe what happens to cells in different conditions.
Okay.
Sure. A lab would be helpful to put your microscope in.
Can you tell me more about what a lab is?
You know, like where scientists work and study things and test things and Look at their microscopes.
Okay, so you're
Mm-hmm.
thinking of all of the like movies where you have a scientist in a white lab coat and they've
Yeah.
got the microscope and they're
Yeah.
looking and
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
But that's
Exactly.
only biologists. Got it.
um, I don't know what else they need. It depends on what kind of biology they're doing.
Okay. Okay. Any idea about how biology is organized?
Are you talking about the species and the animal and the kingdoms and the phylums and all that stuff?
Sure, you can talk about
Or are
that.
you talking about, like, how they organize as a staff of biologists on their
Oh, no,
biologist
not that
company
so much.
team?
More the idea, how do we organize the study of biology?
Well, I mean, I know there's, like, the different layers of, like, the kingdom, phylum, genus,
Uh-huh.
species, etcetera. I don't remember the mnemonic device for this, and I bet it would help me if
Mm.
I did.
We know how good you are at mnemonic devices.
Do you mean like that kind of organization?
Yeah, that's one. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you know
You're
any
looking
others?
for something that
No, I'm just wondering what you know.
okay. Um, I mean, I think that's what I know. Yeah.
Okay. That's perfectly fine. Anything else?
Okay. I guess it could be like you could study biology and work in like the field of medicine and study like what types of drugs
Mm,
fight
okay.
cancer, or like things like that. You could like
Okay.
develop things and look at their effects. So like that could be a field versus like being in the field and
Yeah.
like when we on our other podcast talked to my friend Amanda who was on an island for 9 months looking at ants.
Mhm. That
you
sounds like
know.
fun, doesn't it?
Yeah, the island part sounds like fun. The 9 months with 3 other people looking at a bunch of ants does not sound like fun.
Okay.
But I think that's, like, probably within the realm of biology is
Okay.
that
Mhm.
type of thing.
Okay. And finally, Cheryl, one thing that I just want to give you as an open option, are there questions that you have about biology?
Hmm. You're gonna have to give me a second. Here's what I wanna know.
Mhm.
In a standard intro to biology, biology 101 type of class, whatever like pieces of biology I learned in science. Um, is that really an accurate and good like foundational knowledge for someone who's then going to like become a biologist? Or is this similar to when we had to learn the 50 states and their capitals and really like I don't know. Like, or is
Okay.
it like, no, all that stuff is like, that's really where you start and it is super useful. And this is like
Mm,
fundamental knowledge that every biologist needs to know. So
okay.
that's what I'm curious about.
Okay. And I thought of one more question for you,
Okay.
Cheryl. What does it mean for something to be living?
Oh, no.
How do we know if it falls into the realm of
Oh,
biology?
that's, that is so hard because you can't say like it breathes.
Why not?
Um, Well, I don't think like a single cell organism is
Okay.
necessarily breathing because I don't think it has a mouth or lungs.
Okay.
Not everything has to breathe with a mouth or lungs. So, is it that it can? Oh gosh, my next guess was going to be that it like grows,
Okay.
or that it can like reproduce, or
Okay.
that I don't think it's that it can move because I feel like there might be things that are alive that can't necessarily move. I'm guessing there's a list. I don't even know if it's one thing. Maybe it's like those things and then
Mm,
some that have to be like when we talked about what makes a bird, and there was like a whole list of things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing it's something like that, that it has to be able to do these things in order for it to be considered living. That it has cells, I
Okay.
think would be, because I don't know if rocks have cells.
What do you think? Do you think
I
rocks have
don't, oh
cells?
gosh, do rocks have cells? I think living things have cells.
Okay.
Now I don't know. Does water have cells? No, it has like molecules. I don't think. Does it have cells? Oh my gosh. I don't know it has cells anymore.
Well, we better wrap this up before you have an existential crisis here, Cheryl. As an attempt to try and bring you back from the edge of existential dread,
Okay. Okay.
we'll start at the end and then we'll work our way through,
Oh my
okay?
gosh. Thank you. I was wondering how long I had to wait. I think I need to go with my gut. I think it was my first guess, but you tell me.
Water is not made of cells.
Okay. Oh my
Rocks
gosh.
do
Good.
not have cells.
Great. Okay.
And you
I
are
should have gone with
correct
my
that,
first thought.
yep, you are correct that cells is a characteristic of living things.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, you listed several of the characteristics of living things. And yes, there is a list. Now, it's not necessarily that the list is exactly, these are the decided things that all biologists agree on. They're very similar, but being made of cells is one of them. Cells are considered the smallest unit of a living thing, is a cell. So the things that make up cells, we don't consider living, but the cell as a whole, we do consider living.
Got it. Okay.
So growing is actually one of the characteristics of living
Yay.
things.
Okay.
Reproducing is one of the characteristics of living
Nice.
things. Okay. Processing energy is one of the characteristics of living things.
Okay.
Evolving, the ability to evolve, change over time, is one
Oh
of the
yeah.
characteristics of living things.
That makes sense.
So yeah, there's a list of those things. You got a bunch of them. And again, they're not, one of the things about biology is it's fuzzy. Things are not always super clear. And actually, that's true about most science when you dig down deep enough. But we try to classify things and you talked a lot about lists and organization of things. And yes, biology tries to do that. And in general, it works pretty well. But there's almost always exceptions to things that don't quite fit into the categories that we like. So for example, there is debate or not consensus as to whether a virus is considered living or not.
Oh, really?
Because viruses are not made of cells. Viruses are much smaller than cells, most of them. And they are either DNA or RNA and protein. And that's it. That's all a virus is. We talk about killing a virus, but whether or not a virus is actually alive to be killed is weird, because a virus can reproduce, but only if it gets connected to a cell. On its own, it cannot do those things. It does not reproduce. It does not grow. It can't respond to stimuli. It's another one, respond to like the environment, things around it, and it's not made of cells. So it doesn't do those things. But if it's next to and attached to a cell, it sort of does those things.
Wait, is this like Pluto?
What do you mean?
Well, when people thought Pluto was a planet because it like has some of the characteristics of a planet, but then if you say Pluto's a planet, then how about all these other dwarf planets? Then are they all planets, or do we need to say that none of them are planets?
Yeah,
but you're like,
it's not quite the same as that.
Okay.
It's similar. Some people would consider viruses living, some wouldn't. But parasites. What about other parasites like mosquitoes? They require other organisms for their life cycle. So it gets tricky to know, but there are some general trends. Other things, as far as the way things are organized that you sort of talked about, I was very impressed. You remembered some of the levels, the way that we classify things. kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species.
And
You had,
what's the device?
I don't know.
Oh my gosh, we have
The
to learn it
mnemonic.
together
It's
right now.
yeah, it's like King Philip something something, because I never needed it. I just in 7th grade I learned kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species, and for some reason it's always stuck in my brain. So I think there's like a King Philip, kingdom, phylum, class. I don't know what he would do with the C. King
Dear,
Philip.
oh, if you start with domain, then it's
Oh, yep.
Dear King Philip came over for good soup is one of them.
Okay. Weird. Yeah. Domain is one that when you and I were going to school, I don't know, but probably didn't learn, but has since developed a lot more clearly. So the
Okay.
domains are, as I'm sure you are aware, eukaryotes, prokaryotes, and archaea, right? You knew that.
Yeah.
So
No.
in general, eukaryotes are the things that you're most familiar with. Prokaryotes are bacteria.
Okay.
And archaea are not bacteria, but for us, they seem a lot like bacteria. They're single-celled. But actually,
Interesting.
technically, we're more closely related to archaea than we are bacteria, but that's a whole nother sideline. So yeah, that's a way that we can organize things as well.
Interesting. I need to read you a couple of the mnemonic devices, Ryan, because I want
Okay,
you to
because
tell
you're
me your
enjoying them.
favorite.
Okay,
Yeah.
all
So there was
righty.
one I already told you. I already forgot it, and it's not on my screen anymore. But you didn't like
Dear
it anyway,
King
so that's fine.
Philip came
Something about
something
good soup.
soup.
That's fine. We
Yeah,
don't care about good soup a whole lot though. So we get
no.
kings play cards on fat green stools.
Ooh, I like that one.
Kings play chess on funny green squares.
Okay.
Kids prefer cheese over fried green spinach.
Ooh, I like that one.
King Philip came over for great spaghetti.
Spaghetti is better than soup, yeah.
It is. Or King Philip can only find green slippers. What's your favorite?
Actually, well, favorite or which one
Mm-hmm.
do I like the best? Because those are not the same.
You sound like a scientist when you say things like that.
Weird.
Just what's your pick? Who wins? How about that? What's the
Uh,
winner? Or is that a third type of classification?
yeah. Well, I think the one about kids. What was the kids one?
Kids prefer cheese over fried green spinach.
I think that one as a sentence is the most cohesive.
Because it's not random.
Yeah.
You're like, something
Yeah.
about green squares. I don't know.
Right.
What's
So I
that have to
like
do
that
with
one.
chess? Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but the one that so I think that one's the most useful. The one that
Okay.
I like the best was the like fat green squares or
Kings play
stools.
cards on fat green stools.
Yeah, I just like the idea of fat green stools for some reason. I
Nice.
think it's funny. So
Kids prefer cheese over fat green stools. There you go.
or that. Which one do you like the best?
I agree with you about the most useful is the kids one.
Yeah.
So I think that's the one I would actually want to learn because it might actually help me remember and work as a mnemonic device. So there we go.
Yeah. 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 All right. Working our way sort of backwards here. We talked about tools that biologists can use.
Yeah.
And they definitely use microscopes, but not all biologists use microscopes. It depends on what they're studying. Cellular biologists and microbiologists, they will definitely use microscopes. But there are plenty of things that we can learn about living things that are larger than cells, than at the cellular level or at the tissue level.
That
So
sounds
that's
more
actually
interesting, honestly, to me. Is
well, the
the
ant
bigger things than
yeah,
the
the ant
cells.
research that you were talking about is an
Yeah.
example of that. And so that's another way that biology is organized. They're actually called the levels of organization. And you can start really, really, really tiny and work your way really, really, really big. And what's interesting to me is most of the things you talked about as far as biologists and what you think they do and study are the small ones. So you've got, atoms make up molecules. Molecules can make up cells. Cells can make up tissues. Tissues can make up organs. Organs make up organ systems. Organ systems make up organisms.
Okay.
Did I go too fast?
No, that makes sense. I would not be able to
Okay.
repeat all of that back to you, but it made
That's okay.
sense.
That's okay. And then from there, oh boy, we got to see if I'm doing this all from memory here. Got to make sure that I can get them in the right order. So when you have organisms, when you have groups of the same type of organism, that is a population.
Mm.
You could have like a population of people, but you could also have a population of dogs or a population of ants or a population of
Orcas.
orcas or
Mm-hmm.
of mushrooms or of pine trees, right? So you got a population. They're all the same species.
Okay.
Okay, so that's a population. Then you can have a community, which is multiple species.
Oh, that's so
That
cute.
Yeah. So multiple species of different living things. So we had organism, population, community, and then you can have an ecosystem, which I'm sure you've heard of. And an
Yes.
ecosystem includes what we call the abiotic things. So also the non-living things. That's where the rocks and the water and the sunlight and all of that gets mixed into what we're
Mm.
studying. But you can still talk about how those things affect the living things, and that's the ecosystem level. But we can get even bigger, and you've probably heard of these before. Have you heard of a biome?
Yeah.
Do you have any idea what a biome is?
I'm gonna guess it's like a climate region.
Yeah, it's definitely an area that's bigger and tends to have similar types of climates. Yeah, so we here in the Pacific Northwest, we are in a temperate forest region. Although out on the coast of Washington, we actually have one of the few temperate rainforests out there. And I know you and I have both been there before, not at the same time, but because of the amount of rain that it gets. There are a number of tropical biomes, things like that. Tundra, if you've heard of tundra before, that is
Mm-hmm.
a type of biome. So there's a bunch of different biomes. And then if you get even bigger, the entire Earth is referred to as the biosphere.
And that's why the biosphere 2 is what it's called, the thing I visited in Arizona.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Exactly. So that's another way of organizing, but also tells you what biologists and biology focuses on and studies. It's all of
Mm.
those things at all of those levels. If
Wow.
you're an ecosystem biologist, you're not using a lot of microscopes. You're often out there observing organisms, maybe taking samples of plants or soil samples to see what the health is. And, you're doing all of these other things that you're studying and investigating, and how different parts of an ecosystem interact with each other and how they interact with the non-living things. All of that is also part of biology as well. And some people really prefer that side because it's macro scale is what we would call it. Bigger, you can
Mhm.
see it as opposed to the micro scale.
That's what I would wanna do if I were a biologist more than the microscope part of it, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so now kind of coming back to where we talked about what even is biology in the first place, and you talked about living things, and it totally is. Marine biology is a huge part of that. And yes, marine has to do with saltwater, so
Okay.
oceans, seas for the most part, because you can also have biology that deals with rivers or lakes or just the insects that live at the bottom of rivers or, whatever. So entomology is the study of insects. So that's a cool one
That's what
too.
my, stepson wants to be.
Oh yeah, there you
Yeah.
go.
Mhm.
Yeah, an entomologist, which is
Yeah.
great. And there are so many insects out there that you can study. And actually, you might want to recommend to him as well. He may want to be an entomologist, but he might want to be a little bit broader. He might want to go into and look at arthropods in general, not just
Mm,
insects. So that
interesting.
would because that would include things like arachnids, like spiders and scorpions, because those are technically not insects, but they are arthropods. And so
Interesting,
sometimes we
yeah.
group them together for ourselves, but there's actually differences in those organisms and being able to tell the difference, which your nephew might actually, or your stepson might already know that.
Oh,
I'm
he
not
does.
sure. Okay. I figured he might.
Yes.
I figured that might be something he already knows. And so, yes, you talked about studying people, and absolutely. And there's definitely an overlap with medicine and biology. You're right. everyone involved in medicine is what might not consider themselves biologists, because they may be dealing just with the human interaction and human side, although they definitely have to have an understanding of biology to be able to study and do medicine. I mean, obviously you're dealing with living things, you have to have an understanding. But whether or not they would consider themselves biologists, I don't know. I'm sure some of them do. Some of them maybe don't think about it. I don't know. Finally, we want to get to your question that you were asking. Does a foundational biology class, whether that's high school or college, intro level, is that stuff that you actually would need to know to do biology? And I would say yes, 100%.
Cool. That's great.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, depending on what type of biology you go into, you may or may not need all of those pieces, but understanding things like photosynthesis and cellular respiration, that's that processing energy of one of those characteristics of living things. Like, that's super important. Genetics, we didn't even talk about genetics. Genetics is a whole region of biology in and of itself. That's the cutting edge of a lot of research right now. And pretty much no matter what you go into in biology, you're gonna be doing something with genetics. Now, whether or not you're actually dealing with the genes themselves, but if you're tracking traits between organisms, if you're looking at mutations because of pollutants in an ecosystem, like whatever those things are, it's gonna affect the genetics of that organism. Evolutionary biology tracks with genetics and figures out how traits have changed over time, all of those things. So there's definitely, like, that's a huge component as well. And so learning those things in an intro-level biology class really does set a foundation for all of the other things that you're going to need to learn, even if you don't use all of the specifics in, let's say your stepson does end up being an entomologist, right? Even there, what is he looking at when he's doing entomology? I had my microbiology professor, so not an entomologist, but he studied microbes, but he studied microbes specifically in termites' guts. And that was his area of research.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So you could be doing something related to insects, but also be studying it at the cellular level. Or you could talk about it at like the ecosystem level and how are those, and that's what it sounds like maybe the research that the guest on our Take Me With You podcast was doing with ants and tracking what they were doing in the ecosystem. So again, I'm kind of rambling at this point. I apologize. I'll wrap it up. But like, you really, it's all, and that's biology. It's all interconnected. And so learning those ideas allows you to start to see those interconnections and be able to make those connections as you go on with what you're learning.
I think my final question is, Ryan, do you like biology?
Nope, not at all. No. Why do you ask that question, Cheryl?
You are so passionate right now, and I love it. Because you said, I remember a long time ago, you said this is your first love science, right? Like, this is the subject that made you fall in love. So what was it about studying biology that really gave you that spark for science?
Yeah, I mean, it was my 7th grade life science class, Miss Gilbert's class. And that was the first time I remember being aware of science, like, as its own area of study. Like, I had done things with science growing up earlier, but you're right. That's when I really feel like I fell in love with science. And the biggest thing was because it helped me understand why things were the way they were. And I really am interested in the whys. Why do things work? Why does it happen this way? How does that affect that thing? And there were just so many things that I had no idea about that I remembered learning. I think that it was the first time I saw like pond water in a microscope. And the first time I even had this idea or concept that there were organisms that I had never seen before because they were too small. And that just like opened up my mind to all of these things and these possibilities that I never really knew was a thing. And that was just so exciting to me and so interesting. And then also, I like things that are organized. So a lot of those, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species, right? Like biosphere, biome, ecosystem, community, population, organism, like all of those things. Like I like those. I like having a system that I can understand and follow. And even when things don't fit in the boxes, I still like having the boxes there to be like, well, it's kind of a little bit in that box, a little bit in that box. Like I like having those boxes. It makes me feel like there's order, and I like order. I like organization. And even though biology is not always well organized, there is a lot of organization in it. And I really like that. So I think some of those things are probably what appealed to me.
I love that.
And with that, Cheryl, let's move into your biology quiz.
Fine.
Like I got nothing.
If you organized it well, then I will take it.
Ooh, well, hopefully I organized it well. We'll find out soon. What are some of the characteristics of living things?
Okay, let's see how many I can get here. Has a cell or more than one. Made of cells.
Okay.
We're gonna
Made
go
of
with that.
cells.
Can reproduce,
Okay.
can grow, can evolve, and then something about energy. Needs energy. I'm assuming then turns that energy into some form of growth and or waste as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Great. Those are great.
Yay.
Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful. Number 2. Do all biologists need to use microscopes as a part of their job? Give an example to support your answer.
No, they don't need to, but they still would look pretty cool if they did. No, they definitely don't need to. There are a lot of biologists that are studying things much bigger than would fit under a microscope. For example, if you are studying the patterns of orca whales and their migrational patterns and everything like that, then I don't think anything would need a microscope other than if you're like, hold on, what's in this water that is changing? And then in that case, you might need to send it to the lab. But, other than that,
Okay, that's great. That's a great example. Next question. Give an example of how biology organizes living things.
in a lot of different ways, which then feels like you could have this really cool, like 3-dimensional cross section logic puzzle of like what is one thing under all these different styles. So there's organization of what a living thing classifies under with our fun little kids and G's thing.
Okay.
What kingdom, etc. they are. What's that called though? Just how you classify?
That's classification. It's called taxonomy.
Oh, that's right. Okay. But then you can also organize them, organize biology in terms of what micro to macro level. So what like size of grouping you're looking at, whether it's little tiny things or the whole world or anything in between.
Okay. So, question number 4.
Oh boy. Oh no.
For each of those, list as many of those levels as you can.
Okay. Kids prefer cheese over fried green spinach. It is not up on my screen. I want to make that clear. So kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species.
Hey,
Oh
you
my
got
gosh,
it.
the device worked.
Look at that.
Great.
Way
Good
to
job,
go.
kids. You want the other one too?
As much as you can remember.
The
The other one has
size
like
one?
way more. Yeah.
Okay. Atoms, and then somewhere after atoms comes cells.
Okay.
There's some in between atoms and cells.
Molecules.
Oh, that's right. Atoms, molecules, cells, tissue,
Mm-hmm.
organs,
Mm-hmm.
organisms.
You missed one, but yeah.
What's in between is organisms plural? Is that why I missed one?
Nope.
Oh. What did I miss then?
So, like, pick an organ in the human body.
Like the lung.
The lung. Okay.
Okay.
The lung is not just a part of the person, but it's also part of a system.
Yeah.
The lung is part of the respiratory system.
Oh.
Yes.
Yes.
So the level you missed was an organ system. So
Oh,
like
organ. Oh.
so you have like the respiratory system or the circulatory system or the skeletal system that's going to have multiple organs that are all interconnected working towards a particular goal or function.
Got it. Okay. Okay. Then organism,
Mm-hmm.
then population,
Mm-hmm.
and then community,
Mm-hmm.
ecosystem,
Mm-hmm.
biome.
Mm-hmm.
Did I miss one before biome or no?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Nope.
There's one before the world. There's not the world.
Well, okay, but what's the name of the world?
The Biosphere 1.
There you go. I was like, I know you're going to remember that one.
Yay! Cool.
That was great, Cheryl. You
that
did
one makes
great.
a lot of sense to me because I can picture all those things. I think the first one is harder because I know that a dog is a species or whatever, but
right.
harder to remember every level and an example of them. But for this other one, I could picture them along the way.
Yeah, and I could have gone through an example, but I just think for the sake of time,
we didn't do one. We talked about what a platypus was in a different episode, so we're doing
That's true.
Okay.
That's true. Yeah. And that was definitely, I think we talked a little bit about that as a monotreme, and that fits in with all of those pieces. So yeah. Okay. Nicely done, Cheryl. You passed your biology quiz.
Yay! That's very exciting.
But I think that's all the time we have for biology this week. So why don't you pack up your stuff and get ready for my closing remarks. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at I Slept Through Science or on Twitter at Slept Science.
If you have dumb science questions like I do, please send them to us. You can email us at isleptthroughscience@gmail.com, or you can even send us a voice memo and we'll play it on the podcast.
Please rate and review our podcast to tell other people what you think about it, subscribe to make sure you don't miss an episode, and share about our podcast on social media.
Thank you to Beth Reed Miller for the artwork. You can check out more of Beth's artwork at Beth Is Something. Okay, great. Thanks. Bye.
The bell doesn't dismiss you. I dismiss you.